Hey guys, Carly here again. Coming back with another video. Today's topic is about why I chose, or why I'm choosing right now, to be on a plant-based diet, and my journey through letting go of meat and how I got to this place and why. So, I'll start off by saying that I grew up eating meat. I grew up eating everything. Um, I come from like a very traditional Mexican background, so we eat all meats and um, pork, beef, chicken, and everything in between. So, all my life, that's all I've ever known, and that's all my diet has consisted of. Um, and I didn't relate, I guess, certain illnesses or certain things that have affected my health in the past to meat until not too long ago, when I decided to start sorting certain things out and seeing the difference for myself in that way. So, a couple years ago, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, and it was the severe kind. It was considered Hashimoto. And at the time, it was one of the things that I didn't know I had it. I had no idea what it even was. Um, I was, I thought I was healthy. I thought I was, living a normal life just like everyone else. And I needed to get, some tests done, just general checkups and whatnot. And I ended up going in for some blood work. And I think at the time, my doctor said that my hormone levels were so low and so off that she was surprised that I was even able to like get myself up and, have the energy to even wake up. I mean, I guess it was so severe that, in her opinion, I could have literally just dropped dead at any point, because that's how severely low my hormone levels were. And I had no idea. I, at the time, actually thought that I was working myself to death and that I was pretty much just energetically drained because of overworking myself. I remember in that period, I was working, I mean, I'd be up as early as like, 5:30 in the morning, and I would be ending my nights, close to 10, 11 o'clock at night, almost every day. So I'd be working the entire day, and I not giving myself the proper nutrition, not giving myself the proper breaks. And all I kept thinking was like, God, I have no energy. I wake up tired. I go to sleep tired. I'm tired all day. Like, it's draining. But my mindset was, make money. Let's go to work every day, all day, every day, and just make money, make money, make money. So I never associated the feeling crappy or feeling low of energy to, being sick. I just thought I was working too hard. But anyway, fast forward to me going to see her, and, she brings awareness of this thyroid disorder to me. And so I decide, like, wow, this is very severe. It's a life, threatening issue. Time to pay attention, a little more attention to myself, right? Because at the time, I think I was still in that mindset of work, 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 and make money and make money and make money. But anyway, I get on the medication, and, first of all, she tells me that it's an autoimmune disease, and that this particular disease has no cure. It is a lifetime disease that, you pretty much have to control through this medication. I was put on Synthroid, and then I was switched over to Levoxyl, but I ended up going back to Synthroid down the line. So anyway, for those of you who can relate, you know what I'm talking about. she tells me that, it's a lifetime autoimmune disease, and basically I'm going to spend the rest of my life getting labs done, quarterly or however often, just to check my hormone levels and check all my levels, and just to make sure that, I'm functioning at a normal rate or normal whatever. So I was depressed after hearing that. I was upset at myself, but I was even more upset at, like, how do you get this? Like, the unawareness, right? And I was so caught up in, like, just feeling sorry for myself, and like, fuck it, I'm gonna take this medication, and I hope it works, and I hope it helps me at least maintain a coasting, like, normal hormonal level, and if so, at least I have a chance at functioning every day, quote unquote, normally. So I get on this medication and I start to feel better. And at the time, I had gained weight through not knowing that my metabolism and my hormone levels were so off. So I was excited that upon getting on the medication, I'm losing weight. So I go, for a little while, stay on the meds, and eventually I caught on to feeling like I plateaued. There was this sense of like, oh, I don't really feel like it's doing a whole lot for me, but I'm going to stay on it because it's life-threatening, and oh my God, definitely don't want to die, right? So I continued this way for a while, and I remember a while after, going back to the doctor, and I was excited that I'd lost some weight. So I'm going in hopeful, and I'm going in thinking to myself, okay, this is a positive visit. This is going to be great. I'm going to go, and, maybe through losing weight, and maybe through like adjusting my hormones and whatnot, I'm going to have like better news, good news, right? Like a good visit with my doctor. So I go in, and we're talking about how how I'm feeling, how everything's going, and I say like, oh, I've lost so much weight, and my energy levels are up, and I feel like I feel like this is hopeful, like I'm doing good. And my doctor says to me, well, it's good you lost some weight, but pretty much you're determined to be a diabetic. You're pretty much determined to like have health issues, whether it's high cholesterol or high blood pressure or whatever it may be. It's like you're already predetermined to be this. So I'm going to put you on pre-diabetic pills. And I instantly was like upset and angry. I got up and I walked out, and I'm like, how the fuck does this happen? Like, here I am putting all this effort into my health, into caring and into doing, and he's just going to tell me like, oh no, you're predestined to like die anyway. That's how I took it. And so it pissed me off, and I left. And when I left, I remember like sitting in my car, like crying and wallowing, and thinking like, there's no way this is going to be my life. There's no way that I'm going to allow someone to tell me, this is what my life is going to be like. Oh, too bad. Like, you can try all you want. You can try to better your health all you want. Pretty much you're predestined to be a diabetic and die, or have high blood pressure and die, or whatever it was, So I went home, and I picked myself up, and I said, we're going to do research and see how did I even wind up here? How did I end up with this disorder, and how did I not catch it early enough to, know that this is what was happening? So I became obsessed with reading and researching, and, just informing myself of the things that caused this disorder. So I stumbled upon gluten, dairy, and soy causing an allergy to your thyroid gland. What happens is these things that we consume every day begin attacking your thyroid. And it doesn't happen to everyone. It doesn't, it doesn't affect everyone the same way. But those of us who are affected in this way, when you consume gluten and when you consume soy and dairy, this is what's happening. Every day you are pretty much attacking your own system with these things, with these items you eat. So, I start informing myself and I'm like, how the hell is this even possible? How am I going to even overcome something like this? Like, I start reading labels and I start educating myself on what contains gluten and what contains dairy and what contains soy. And it's like, what the fuck? Everything has gluten, soy, and dairy in it. Everything. So I went through this phase of like frustration and feeling like, great, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't, right? So then I go even further into reading about the medications I'm on. How is it that this medication is benefiting me, right? How, not only how is it benefiting me, what is it made of? I went through this whole research, and trust me when I say you can find every single bit of information so long as you search and just click this link and click that link and just click your life away until you come across the information you need. Anyway, I researched Levoxyl and Synthroid to the point of reading its chemical composure. It's what it's made up of. And come to find out, it contains gluten. The medication that I'm taking to cure myself or help my my thyroid, my disorder, fucking has gluten in it, which is the very thing that is slowly killing me. So my doctor doesn't tell me this. My doctor doesn't even make me aware of this. My doctor pretty much just says, this is what you're going to take, this is what I'm prescribing, and go on about your life. So I became angry. Angry at the medical industry. Angry at myself for allowing myself to get to this point. And then for not educating myself, for not caring enough about my being, my body, my well-being, that I reached a point where I wound up with an autoimmune disease that now I'm being told has no cure, and that the medication I take for it contains the very thing that's killing me. So some shit needed to change, right? In that time, I decided it was a decision that to me was life or death. And I said, everything that is affecting me and everything that is hurting me and damaging me has to go. So I cut out gluten, I cut out dairy, and I cut out soy. And I cut out this medication. Cold turkey, I just pretty much said, fuck this, I'm not taking it anymore. And it was out of my life. So I chose to pretty much, I cleaned up my eating. I cleaned up what was going in my body. And I became very conscious of like reading labels, reading, how, if it's organic, if it's not organic, and, so on and so forth. Fast forward 6 months of me cutting out this medication and cutting out all these items from my diet. I end up going back to the doctor, and she suggested I needed a blood test. So fine. I'm in the room with her, and she's asking me about, are you still on your medication? How are you doing with that? I say, no, I'm not. I've cut it out. I actually let it go quite a while ago. And she gets frustrated with me, and she's like, why would you do that? This is a life or death matter. And, this is dangerous. Like, you could seriously die from this, and, blah, blah, blah. So I say to her, okay, well, I discovered that these were the items that were causing, or that cause such a thing, that cause hypothyroidism. So I decided I was going to try something natural. I was going to let go of the items that contain, those things that are hurting me, that are damaging me, including this medication. So she gets bothered, and she says, I think at one point she said that I was miseducated, and that it was a very ignorant decision on my part to let go of the medication and to do this type of research. So I naturally was offended. And I said to her, well, I guess the best way to find out if you're right or if I'm right is to do the lab, right? Like, why don't you go ahead, send out the blood work, and if it comes back, normal, this will be the last time you see me. And if it comes back abnormal, I'll be on the medication as soon as you call me and tell me so. Sure enough, we sent out the labs, and I think it was a week later, I get a phone call from her nurse. Not her, not the doctor, from her nurse, telling me, Ms. Ruiz, we got your labs in, and the doctor wants you to know that everything came back normal. You just need to take vitamin D. Really interesting. So that was the last time I saw that doctor. I realized that every cure that we need for any disease out there, for any disorder, for anything that is not right within us, has a natural cure. Everything. So I continued, I had, at that point, I was so motivated because my health was back. I cured something that they told me was a lifetime disease, a lifetime problem, that I would never recover from this. And I, with my brain and with my willpower to find a cure, did. So, I stayed on a slightly cleaner path, and I continued, to eat this way for quite some time. And then through my spiritual journey, the more I ascended, the more I became in tune, and the more I meditated and received messages and became more connected or more aligned, to source energy. I had some interesting happenings. Now, through the whole curing of the thyroid disorder, I was still eating meat. I was eating a very heavy veggie or plant-based diet, and I still ate a lot of quote-unquote normal things. I was just very cautious of labels. Like, I made sure it was gluten-free, I made sure it was dairy-free, I made sure it was soy-free. And then I had pretty much a good range of the things I could eat. So as I began to be more spiritually in tune and more in alignment with source, there was a lot of things that started to not sit well. Not my body wasn't accepting it as great. So, I started I mean, my diet was still very similar, a lot of the same things were still in my life. And then as time went on, as my meditations got more centered, and as I began to be more intuitive and aligned, I remember one day, this is kind of a interesting story. I'd come home, and my grandmother was here, and You know, those of you like who know Mexican dishes. My grandmother had made chicharron in salsa verde, which is uh, like the pork rind, the Mexican pork rind in green sauce. And you know, it's a very like simple dish, but it was something that I would still eat because it was just meat and green sauce, and then you know whatever the side was, usually like beans or rice or whatever. So anyway, I fixed myself a plate to eat, and I was having so many different messages and so many different like um, intuitive happenings, like spiritual happenings that just kept, um, you know, leading me in a certain direction. So I come home, I serve myself a plate, I sit down, and I go to take a bite, you know, of my plate or of my dinner, and as I go to eat it, I have this flash. It was the fucking weirdest thing ever because I mean, you're trying to enjoy dinner, you know, you're trying to have a meal, and as I go to eat it and chew it, the vision or the energy that I got from it was like how the animal was slaughtered. Now, that's not something you want to fucking picture when you're eating. That is the weirdest shit to happen to anyone, you know, because as you're trying to eat and digest this meal, all I'm thinking about is literally that's the whole like thought process in my head, how this animal was slaughtered. So instantly I like spit it out. I remember my grandma even looking at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Are you okay? And I pretty much was like a little shook up, and I'm like, I can't eat. I'm not gonna eat this. And I ended up throwing it all away and like, you know, just leaving and like having to gather my thoughts, you know, having to gather my, like, why the fuck did this just happen to me? And I'm sitting there, like, I went in my car, because usually that's, like, my zone out place. And I'm sitting there, like, why is this happening? Like, what am I doing? You know, why am I having these thoughts? Like, why is this happening to me? And intuitively, when I have questions or when things like that come up, my instinct is to meditate. That's the way I get answers. That connects me directly to, you know, God, source, however, the universe, however it is you refer to it. And so I did, and I didn't get an answer. I hadn't. I was drawing a blank, and I'm like, ah, this is so fucking weird. Like, you know, what am I doing wrong? Like, is it something I'm doing? Is it, you know, is it wrong for me to be eating meat? Like, what? Why this? Why now? You know, I've done so good. My journey's on such a great path. Like, why? So for a while, for like a couple weeks after that, I was attempting to eat what I say normal again, you know, my normal everyday meals, and I was having weird associations and weird tastes when it came to meat. Like, if I had chicken, it just would taste weird. It had a not right gamey taste, and beef, you know, I just couldn't. So intuitively, all I could think of is my body needs a change, and the change now is not to save my health. My body now is to ascend spiritually, because you know, my journey has been so rewarding, and it's been so giving, and I've reached so many great heights that I had no other explanation but then, you know, to be more connected, you know. And so of course I start reading, and I start just educating myself more on the reasons why one could be going through this, and especially because, you know, I had this thought in my head that if I removed meat from my diet, that I was taking away from myself, that I was doing something that, like, I'm depriving myself of eating good, and, what am I going to eat if I don't have meat? And I've already taken away all this stuff. Like, why would I need to remove more? But, as I began to soften up about the approach and just soften up about the idea, I started to realize that a lot of, like, and I read a lot of weird stuff, so um, you can Google it yourself and figure it out for yourself. But, like, when I started reading about ascended masters and monks and people, like Buddhists and Hindus and people who fast and all sorts of spiritual connections and spiritual journeys, fasting and clearing yourself of the impurities that you put in your body is what helps you ascend more spiritually. So I had an aha moment. Like, so much of, my journey, I have requested and prayed for a connection and to be more in alignment. And every day that goes by, I pray that, I be fully in tune, and that I walk every day in my purpose, and, that upon waking up, I am ready to fulfill what the day brings and to live it to the fullest, right? That's pretty much what was happening to me. In order for me to continue ascending, in order for me to gain more clarity, and for my journey to continue forward, I had to clear the impurities out of my body. So when you think of me in a sense, when you don't know 100% where your meat comes from and what it's been injected with, or what it's being fed, or we can get deep into that conversation later, but pretty much that's what it boils down to. I was asking for, a closer alignment, a more in tune lifestyle to my source, to my higher being, and my higher being was saying, if that's the case, you gotta let meat go. I didn't know that. I didn't associate it to that. I thought it was a punishment. And, I almost like felt sorry for myself. But, of course, when you look at things in a positive perspective, and when you start to, quiet your own thoughts and allow source to talk to you and to communicate to you, you begin to realize, like, everything that we ask for and all the things that we put out into the universe, you go into your vortex and you say, like, I want this and I want that and I want blah 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 and this and that, the answers are already there. The answers are already within you. It's just a matter of you tuning into that, tuning into the frequency that's going to say, okay, you asked for a better connection, well, here it is, but this has to be removed. And it cannot be removed if it's done in fear, because then the fear is the resistance of your growth. So I struggled with cutting meat out. I struggled with, cleaning up my eating, and especially because, I had convinced myself that this is a source of protein. I need it in my life. How am I going to stay healthy? How am I going to, get the proper nutrition? And as you could tell, I ain't missing no meals. I'm quite healthy as it is. So it was something that was just in my own head. I was my own enemy, thinking that if I didn't have this, my life wouldn't be right. But the funny thing about it is, I struggled for a while. I was doing, I would do a few days, and then I'd have it and I'd start beating myself up about it. And that I struggled with that because, we all know, or some of you may know, that the point of any daily task, any daily living, is not to guilt yourself. It's not to beat yourself up about how it is that you're performing, and or what it is that you're doing wrong. The focus should not be on what you're doing wrong. The focus should be on the things that you're doing right, and you continue to move forward, right? To be beating yourself up about, what you're doing wrong pretty much lowers your vibration, and so you continue to manifest things of low vibration. So I wound up going to an Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks teaching seminar or workshop, and I had a list of questions, and I knew I wanted every single question answered because, this was what was going to help me, and, this is how I was going to grow and continue my process, and I just needed more clarity. Well, sure enough, every single question I had was answered. One of the questions I had was about, what is the correct diet of someone who's trying to continue or is on a spiritual journey? And the answer to that is, there is no specific diet. There is no right or wrong. The thing that would make it right or wrong, and this is only at an individual level, is how you intake your meals. If you guilt yourself of the things you eat, that means you're eating on a low vibration. That means that anytime you're putting anything in your body, it's through negative energy. If you are happy about the things you eat, if you are happy about the things that are nurturing your body and even satisfying your body, then you're putting it in a high vibration, which means you're, happily accepting meals. This is why, every day people who are 110 pounds and vegan and the healthiest can drop dead, and someone who is 500 pounds eating super unhealthy still lays there and lives, because it's all in the matter of how we receive these things that are going to nurture our body. It's all in the mindset that we feed ourselves with. So I decided, okay, meat right now is not important in my diet. What's important in my diet is the things that are nurturing to my body and the things that are nurturing to my soul. And when I was able to make peace with that, when I was able to say, I don't desire meat right now, and that's okay. I'm not sitting here claiming to be vegetarian or vegan or anything. I'm eating a plant-based diet that works for me. It makes me feel great. I'm happy when I eat it. I look forward to eating it. And if I'm ever, in a place where I crave a piece of meat, or if I, want to satisfy something, from meat, I do. I'm not depriving myself of, having things that will satisfy or make me happy. I'm just cleaning up a lot of what I'm taking in. So with that said, yes, currently I am on a plant-based diet, and I am very happy on it. I feel like my body is reflecting my body and my skin. I've had several people ask me like, oh, what kind of makeup are you wearing, or what foundation do you use? I'm not wearing makeup. I'm not wearing foundation or powder or anything on my skin. I may wear a little eyeliner and lip gloss from time to time, but my skin is reflecting how I feel. My skin is glowing, I think, due to how I'm eating, and my happiness, my emotional state of being is also reflecting that. I don't feel sluggish. I don't guilt myself of the things I eat. I am, conscious that my body is a temple for my spiritual being, and I'm trying to treat it with the utmost respect. And currently for me, not eating meat is the way to go. So this is the reason that I'm eating this way, living this way right now. And if something is to come later on down the line and I crave a juicy ass steak taco, I may indulge and have one. For the moment being, I am quite happy when it's a bunch of veggies and, you know, they're seasoned right. So, I hope this helps some of you. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you can relate, let me know. I mean, I'm always looking for people who I can relate to, and we can talk about this with, because I think a lot of times we feel like it's just me. Like, damn, I'm struggling with this. Is why is it just me? But truth is, so many of our fellow social media friends or fellow friends or relatives, coworkers, whomever, have a lot of the same questions, have a lot of the same struggles, or even you know ideas, and we fear or yeah, mostly fear of asking or sounding weird, or feeling like you may be rejected is the reason why we don't communicate. So if this resonates with any of you, feel free to comment below, ask questions, ask whatever. Again, I'm enjoying a very healthy plant-based diet, but please do not think that by any means that means I will never eat meat again, or that I'm swearing off meat. Not at all. And if you eat meat, I respect you. Everybody's journey is different, and this isn't about suddenly turning vegan and going pro PETA. Like, not at all. My journey is very non-judgmental. Everybody's here to live and fulfill their own willpower every day. So I hope you're doing that, and we will talk soon. Bye, guys.